Yeah.
Is the agenda as it is?
Sorry, what?
The agenda as we printed it is what we're doing.
That's right.
Huh? I'm sweating already. I need my fan.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Everybody good? All right. Calling a meeting to order.
Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. Mr. Nelson, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon.
All right. Please rise.
No one ever says that to me. He's going to turn up the volume.
Please rise for a moment of silence, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you, first of all, grateful and thankful that you allowed us to assemble in these chambers today. We ask that you, by the aid of your Spirit, help us make good and prudent decisions on the residents and for the residents and the inhabitants of the city of Erie. And we just ask you to look in on those who are bereaved and those who are least of those among us. We ask that you show them special mercy. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Motion to accept the minutes from the July 7th City Council meeting and bills for payment on July 21st and 28th. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson. It's now time for public comments. If you could come up to the podium, state your name clearly, and you get 5 minutes.
Yes.
I think she's in front of you, Freda. Freda, I think she's in line. Is the lady in line?
Yeah.
Something's wrong with the mic. My name's Freda Tepfer. I live in the city of Erie.
Public comments have begun.
My name's Freda Tepfer. I live in the city of Erie. Once again, I want to remind anybody out there who's on Medicaid, please go to the Compass website, the state's Compass Health website, and make sure that they have your correct contact information on file, because Medicaid renewals are no longer automatic. As far as the CRIZ, I do want to say I felt personally offended by what I heard at the news conference from Mr. Nick Castro. I felt like he was treating us like some kind of client state. We're the city, they're in the city. I have watched how they've behaved during construction projects and how they've totally disregarded appropriate ways of addressing pedestrian access during construction. And that's just a symbol of their arrogance. I don't like the idea that they're saying, if you don't do it my way, I'm not going to play. So I hope that the council, the mayor, and whatever state representatives are involved in deciding who is on the CRIZ Authority weigh everybody's best needs. This is a long-term project, and it should be treated that way. Thank you on that. Also on the sanctuary city, nobody makes a decision to change their sexual identity. It's who they are. And all I believe that Councilwoman Faulkner has set forth is that if some, as we say in Yiddish, verkackte law is enacted by the county, the state, or the federal government that restricts the freedom, the rights of people partly based on their gender or gender identity or sexual orientation, that the police make it a low priority. That's all I believe is the whereas, the therefore of all the whereases. Once again, I would like to request the city and council to adopt an ordinance addressing how sidewalk closures are going to be managed. It's my understanding that the assistant city engineer has a potential ordinance that she's been working on and has not had administrative support to move it forward. It's Erie Insurance and the Catholic Church and Mr. Hagan with his own construction projects have shown disregard for pedestrian needs. There needs to be something that says you have to pay to close the sidewalk, and you have to provide alternative access like the Erie Downtown Development Corporation has done. One of the few things I agree with that they've done. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad.
My name is Charles Jackson. I'm a resident of Erie, Pennsylvania for 47 years. This is concerning the proposed sanctuary city designation for our city of Erie. I would give you my opinion and say a resounding no to this proposed designation. In my opinion, the city government is here to serve all the citizens and not provide favors and protection for certain groups, such as a sanctuary city status would. And of course, taxpayer money would be involved to promote and sustain this. Erie is already a welcoming city. Why give one group a special status? All citizens of the city are subject to the same laws and regulations. They have rights and privileges under the same system of laws. No additional protections, in my opinion, are necessary. Now, the third point I wanted to make is that, in my opinion, such a designation to be a sanctuary city for the LGBTQ would be bad economically for our city and for this whole area. Think tourism, think fishermen, think hunters, think new industries. You are considering putting a politically and emotionally charged element into our city that does not have to be there. Again, no, no, no. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to offer information for the people here. There is 100 copies of the resolution in the back so that you can read what it says. It covers a broad number of classes. That way you can determine which classes and which rights you're looking to either support or oppose.
Good evening, council members. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, taxpayers, students, children, residents.
Oh,
Lou
yeah, sorry.
Aliota, 538 Margot Court. We're supposed to love each other. I'm also known as Mr. Freedom of Speech of Erie County. And I believe in the freedom of speech because I won a national, I consider national, lawsuit against violations of our U.S. and Pennsylvania constitutional civil rights. I asked the question, what are our founders? You are our founders of city. You are elected officials. What are you doing for the LGBTQ plus individuals in our city, in our county? Suicide rate. Let me give you a couple of statistics. Youth suicide rate or risk has increased over the past decade. Female students continue to be higher risk for suicidal thoughts and behaviors than their male counterparts. Black students were more likely to attempt suicide than their Asian, Hispanic, and white peers. LGBTQ plus teens in 2021 were 3 times more likely to consider suicide than their heterosexual peers. They were also more likely to make suicide plans and attempts. My position is you look at the laws, and if we have the laws already on the books and you're not following them for all people, children included, and that means students, you are violating the laws. I believe in my own opinion, and I have fought for 6 years for the freedom of speech, and I won against elected and appointed public officials. I believe this is political and it should stop. I thank you for the opportunity to express my constitutional freedom of speech at this meeting. God bless.
I thought he was going a different direction with that.
How's it going? You don't have to worry. I'm not running for office. Lou obviously has a lot of experience. I'm not as articulate, maybe. I'm not worried about what I have to say like he might be.
Hey, sorry. Just to let people know, you have to give your name and address
My name
at the
is
beginning.
Steve Belzon. I live at 932 West A Street.
Neighbor.
So I'm going to reiterate a couple of things that were said already, but I'm going to add some other things. First of all, I want to know if there's any statistics or evidence that would prove that it is necessary for there to be enacted a resolution to favor some citizens over other citizens, which is how I read this. I did read it. Why is it necessary to be singled out, favorable treatment? Aren't we all supposed to be inclusive? Something I've heard Mayor Schember mention an awful lot. And then should you treat some people with a different set of rules? I don't believe that you should. I'm sure that anybody can get in line and speak after me. Will there be a proposal in the future for the Christian community? Should the Christian community be singled out in favor? Another point I would like to make is I don't have a problem with how some people want to live their lives. I do, however, have a problem with having it shoved in my face and being called a bigot just because I'm not willing to celebrate a lifestyle that I don't agree with. Do whatever you want. And then I hear a cry from many of the non-straight community for equity, inclusion, etc. But shouldn't everyone else be included? Or should everybody else be excluded? And then, who is the leader of this non-straight community? I can tell you who my leader is of the Christian community. That's Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Keep it in order.
Good evening. My name is Savannah Jacobowski, and I live on 3924 Walker Boulevard. All right, so I came to Erie initially for my job, my career, and I really enjoyed being here. I moved here about 5 years. Oh, I should say, I'm here to speak in favor of Councilwoman Faulkner's LGBTQ plus city ordinance from my own experience. Thank you. Okay, so I came to Erie for my career, and in finding that career, I ended up meeting my wife and being able to come out of the closet, because I'm from somewhere very small and very homophobic, violently homophobic, actually. And I'm speaking on behalf of this resolution because I think people, not only from places around the country where their rights are being stripped of them and their dignity is being stripped of them, their ability to receive housing, mental health care, all of those rights are being stripped. I can say, as somebody who came from a place like that and is here now, I'm so grateful to be here. Erie's been awesome for me. It has a perfect score on the Human Rights Index Municipality Equality Index. Erie has protections for queer people, including a conversion therapy ban. This is not statewide, and we lack these statewide protections because we need to pass the Fairness Act. The Blasco Library experience shook my Erie experience a little bit. I was having this awesome, accepting experience, and then they removed the children's display, which immediately sent the message that people like me were worth persecution. And I didn't think that that was very Erie-like in my experience. My parents are currently facing persecution as they have 2 queer daughters. They were formerly teachers at the Penncrest School District. I'm sure you're aware what's happening there. Okay. I'm encouraging them to come move up to Erie because it's so much better, it's so much more accepting. The declaration of this ordinance would send a message that Erie's already sent. We can encourage that message via this ordinance.
Stay in order.
You can sign up to speak, sir. Thank you. Okay.
There will be no back and forth. She has the mic and no one else has the mic.
Okay. Erie is already a welcoming city. Refugees have been welcomed into Erie since the mid-2000s. Why would we do any different for people of the LGBTQ community who are now refugees in our own country? This ordinance doesn't favor queer people. It gives them somewhere safe to land. It gives them somewhere safe to grow. I can say that because I've grown in Erie. I love it here, and I'm trying to bring my family up so they can experience that. Thank you all very much for your time.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Tony Rufa. I'm from 6257 Cobblestone Drive in Mill Creek, but my mom lives in Erie. Now go back 40 years. I remember Mel when he worked for Penelec. I met the mayor at Italian Bakery before he ran for office, and I know Mike and Ed when he was running for school board. So I've been around. I'm a member of in Erie County for a long time. I have many friends, family, colleagues who are gay. 40 years ago, I have best friends who are gay. So I have no prejudice. I love them dearly. I had some who died of AIDS, okay? I had some who died of AIDS. I treated patients. I was up on Parade Street in Lecom. And what I did was when gay people came to me because they couldn't go to anyone else, okay, I accepted them. I treated them medically, mentally, and if they wanted to transition, as long as they were of age, I sent them to an endocrinologist because I thought that was their right. It is their right, okay? I want to commend Councilwoman Faulkner for introducing this, ma'am. You brought the attention of youth suicide. Nobody else has talked about that in the city. No Republican, no Democrat. You brought it up, and I commend you for that. My problem with this is the resolution got mixed up. You're talking about housing, you're talking about economy, and then you take the Kansas City resolution. Whereas, and it says, therefore, okay, be it resolved in Kansas, they passed a state law banning transgender transitioning under the age of 21. Anyone who goes to Kansas City, now that it's a sanctuary city now, doesn't get prosecuted because they protect doctors and hospitals. So that's why they started. Pennsylvania is never going to put a ban on that, although I don't agree with kids under the age of 18 should get transitioned because of medically, hormonal, and surgical problems. Okay, that could be permanent. But that's what this is. Let's talk about youth suicide, and I think that's exactly what Councilwoman wants to discuss. And I don't know if this was discussed with Michael Mailer or the Hispanic Advisory Committee or the Lay Advisory Committee or even the mayor. I mean, you know, this is saying that doctors could come and perform hysterectomies on 12-year-olds and we would protect them. Do we really want that? That's what it's saying, Councilwoman. If you look, and I did a lot of research, this is making national news. It'll be in the paper this week because they look at Erie as now a sanctuary city if it's proposing that. Let's talk about the youth and causes of youth suicide for everybody. Okay, academic pressure, social media. We compare ourselves on Instagram. I look at Instagram and say, man, I'm fat, okay? Or I don't look so good as they do. Bullying, economic downturn, housing crisis, opioid, marijuana, mass shootings, cultural issues. Us fighting causes kids to be nervous, okay? Because we're liberals and conservatives. No, we're Erie. Let's work together, not work against each other. Cultural issues, pornography, rape and sex abuse. Church, kids don't go to church. Some of us don't go to church. You need that moral fabric. More suicides occur during school year than summertime. Why is that? So anyway, this is an urgent issue, and it's a county and city issue. And what I would recommend is let's get to the bottom and figure out some answers. The county and city should work on this. It's an urgent issue. Let's start a youth suicide hotline today for our kids. If they feel suicidal, call Erie and let's get them help. All right? Let's talk to the Department of Education or Department of Health and let's get some statistics. What's the problem in Erie and let's address it. What demographics has the most problems, like Lou said? All right? Healthcare trainings for professionals, parental support. You know, you want to talk about youth suicide? You talk about Senator Dan Laughlin. Okay? Marijuana causes increased youth suicides, increased MVAs, all right, and increased deaths in opioid overdose. He has bills in the Senate, the state Senate, that wants to pass recreational marijuana today, pass a resolution forbidding that because it's only going to hurt our youth. Why would you put more drugs in the city and community like marijuana when we already have an opiate problem? That is sinful. And Laughlin takes off and he doesn't stand here. There he's out taking the report.
Hey, Mr. You're not supposed to address individuals.
Sorry.
Particularly
it's just upsetting because I sent them 1,000 emails about that. My point is, council people, you bring up a good point, youth suicide. Let's stick to that. Please, we're together. Let's not separate sexual orientation, Italian and Polish. Remember that used to be an issue when we were growing up, Ed? I grew up on the Polish side of Erie, okay, and Italians. Let's do this together in the name of God. We're Christians. We love homosexuals, heterosexuals, bisexuals. There's no difference. We all love each other. Let's work on what's important, our children. Thank you.
Good evening, Kim Thomas, 5351 Zessinger Road in McCain, but I have the privilege of working in this great city of Erie. Good evening, Mayor, President Nelson, Vice President Flores, and other distinguished members of council. I stand before you this evening to ask for your support and vote in favor of the ordinance sponsored by Councilman Witherspoon creating a city revitalization and improvement zone authority and approving its inaugural board. We have what could very realistically be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bring a very unique economic development tool to our community revitalization efforts. CRIZ is just that. It is just one tool, but if it's carried out properly, it can be a catalyst for millions and millions more in private, philanthropic, and other public resources. I know you're all familiar with CRIZ. You've been in meetings and participated in a study session. You're aware of the opportunities that it could afford Erie. so I won't get into the programmatic details. However, what I cannot stress enough tonight is that while this opportunity is indeed before us, it is by no means a done deal. We must come together quickly in a unified, bipartisan manner. We must speak to Harrisburg with one voice. We have to prove to the Shapiro administration that Erie has its act together, can work together for the betterment of this community. Lancaster did get it right when CRIZ was established in 2013. That's why we're following its successful model that's returned $47 million in revenues, leveraging additional private investment to the tune of nearly $130 million. We could be telling that same success story. Each of you could be telling that exact same success story in Erie in just a few short years. Lancaster, in that very short period, created its CRIZ Authority, identified its inaugural board, in the same bipartisan manner in which Erie is seeking, a board comprised of individuals chosen by their state senator and their mayor collaboratively across party lines, submitted a competitive application, and now they're reaping extensive rewards. The creation of the CRIZ Authority is a critical step that is before each of you this evening. But what's just as critical is that the board appointed to stand up this authority includes individuals who bring significant experience and a unique set of skills around community and economic development activities. We have the opportunity to pursue a sustainable annual stream of funding that will allow this community to implement impactful projects to improve the lives of the people who elected you to where you're sitting today. As the executive director of Infinite Erie, with our many cross-sector partners, we are working to put plans into action, plans that in many cases council has endorsed over the years. We're working to identify and secure state, federal, and other financial resources for project sponsors to implement those projects identified in Erie's investment playbook, projects that in some cases City Council has already invested dollars in. Investment playbook projects that could benefit from CRIZ dollars include, but certainly are not limited to, the East Side Renaissance and their Parade Street corridor revitalization and beyond, projects along the Buffalo Road corridor, including Burton School revitalization, Savacchio Park, improvements to Roger Young Park, additional brownfield remediation and revitalization along the 12th Street corridor, facade programs to help out our businesses improve their facilities downtown and throughout commercial corridors in the urban core, including the West 8th Street corridor, Federal Hill. CRIZ will help us build a world-class bayfront. It will help us transform the former Erie Coke plant. The 130-acre map required for CRIZ is being drawn up strategically and intentionally to ensure that the city is able to utilize CRIZ as a tool for investment in underserved and historically disinvested communities. CRIZ can be the catalyst to get these projects over the finish line. Erie, as you know, is seeing significant project implementation underway as the result of post-pandemic resources. Those dollars, you know, will soon be gone. So how will we continue this momentum? Where will the resources come from? Project sponsors undoubtedly will be coming to each of you for these types of economic development dollars. Money that I'm assuming won't be available for those types of activities much longer. The CRIZ allows us to not only maintain the momentum, but to accelerate that momentum. We have an opportunity to bring back as few as $10 million. Again, what's critical here is with Erie Insurance participating in that designation, as little as $10 million in state taxes that our Fortune 500 company is paying to the state that are otherwise being dumped into Pennsylvania's general fund. So I strongly ask for your full support of Councilman Witherspoon's sponsored ordinance, also supported by the mayor and our state senator, to create the CRIZ Authority and approval of its inaugural board of directors. It's taken 7 years to get to this point here today, and time is running out. Just ask the senator. There's so much more work that needs to be done. It needs to be done expeditiously. Business owners will be involved. The public will be involved. But now we have a bipartisan effort, and we need each of you to ensure that we'll be able to carry this process forward successfully. It's imperative we get this right here, right now, tonight. We may never have this opportunity before us ever again. Otherwise, this could certainly be the end of the road for the city to secure an incredibly valuable resource for investment. Thank you all.
Well timed. You're like within 10 seconds on that.
Got nervous.
Hello, my name is Robert Autumn and I reside at 8214 East Lake Road. Earlier today, I learned about the events that took place at the Erie County Public Library in late June. The LGBTQ plus children's book display that was removed after public complaints and subsequent read and protest by the members of the LGBTQ plus community here in Erie. I then learned about Councilwoman Faulkner's proposal for Erie to declare itself a sanctuary city for LGBTQ plus individuals. I was curious to know more specifics about what that really means, and I soon learned about Kansas City's recent resolution to become a sanctuary city for people seeking providing gender-affirming care in defiance of state officials' intent on banning it for minors and restricting it for adults. It was at this point that I watched the council's meeting on July 5th and listened to the comments from many people in favor of this resolution. It was at that point that I felt moved to come here tonight and tell the council that I oppose such a resolution. I cannot speak for anyone else, but I know I'm not the only one in this community who believes that this resolution would put children in danger, as evidenced by the public complaints about the library display. I personally believe that gender-affirming care does more harm than good, and I worry about the children of our community if Erie is designated as a sanctuary. As we all know, children are vulnerable in many ways, and I fear that gender-affirming decisions made in youth will be regretted in adulthood. I urge that the council put this to vote in the public ballot if it is legally possible to do so, and leave it in the hands of the community to decide. Thank you for your time.
Hi guys, my name is Scotty Freeman, or Scott Pfeiffer. 724 East 6th Street is our address. Sanctuary is a place of safety and refuge. If you want Erie to be a place of refuge for people like myself and my husband back over here, protect our businesses. Guys, I want you to have this right here. And why is it important to protect our businesses and our little businesses? Because they say that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. Is that right, Mayor? Backbone of our economy? Is that what they say? Backbone of our economy? All right.
Scott, can you put down the brick?
What?
Can you put down the brick,
No,
Scott?
I want to give it to the mayor. It's a gift. This is a love brick. This is the first brick.
Can you put it on the railing?
This is the first brick.
Thanks.
That was thrown through one of my windows back in 2013 or something. The first hate brick thrown through my window out of hate by somebody didn't like me because I was gay. All right. I've lost track of how many bricks were thrown through my window, Mayor. Lost track, brother. So you got to protect our businesses, straight up. All right. There you go again. Now, if we're going to be part of the community, our businesses have got to be treated equally. I don't want to be treated special. I want them treated equally. All right. Now, as far as the kids and all of that kind of stuff, all right. Are any of you guys gay or lesbian or trans? All right, at least we got one. Thank you very much. Glad to know. Have you ever had to deal with some hate crime?
Hey,
Just curious. Let's start with teaching our kids not to be ashamed of who they are. All right, but let's take pride in our accomplishments, not our traits. That's how I figure it. I've got nothing to be proud of about my sexuality. Let's teach them to be proud in our accomplishments. And as far as protections, we've got to protect our kids from bad gender theory if it's out there, and a medical establishment that'll throw your gender non-conforming kids right up underneath the bus, kids, for $1. All right? They'll throw us all under the bus for $1, and you know it. Now, I'm worried about kids that are like me growing up being told they're born in the wrong body. No, they're not born in the wrong body. We got perfect bodies. These are temples of God. Whether it's Allah, whether it's Jesus, whether it's just the power of the oneness of the universe, as I believe in. All right, we're temples. We're perfect temples. We don't have to be teaching kids that they're born in the wrong bodies. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to exclude anybody. It doesn't mean if a kid that wants to wear a dress, guys, I want to tell all the straight people out there and all that, we got to chill out a little bit. All right? I love Jesus too, but I'm gay and it's okay. You guys got to chill a little bit. But on the gay side, you guys got to chill a little bit too. All right? Maybe take a big deep breath, especially with the gender-affirming care. When they start throwing around things like gender-affirming care, what exactly does that mean? Is it chemical castration of our little children? Is that what it means? Is it cutting off breasts of kids? Is it trying to teach a girl that she's a little boy really? No. You know, we can't have that. We've got to be smart about it. Now, I don't know everything, but I do know that there's some statistics out there that are scaring me to death. And I've had an experience, and I'm going to tell you guys, I had an experience that I think was divine. It was in 2019, and I still can't explain it, and it scares me of what happened about it. But it kind of let me know of what was going on, and people around me know what I've told them, what's happened, and it's about this particular issue and our kids, and kids just like me growing up, being taught something not quite right. All right? Now, it doesn't mean that, so I don't know what to say about all that. But we've got to really take a deep, deep, deep breath on all of this. And they're right. Erie's got the eyes right here on us, looking at us. So let's get it right. We can do it right. But I'm going to tell you, not the way I feel in this city. All right? I feel very unwanted. All right? You want to talk about the CRIZ zones? Right now, with the little businesses, all right, and I know about running little businesses, there's a jobs program out there with 150 employees. I've asked for years, where do these employees go? They won't tell us. Men, money. If you're giving somebody men, you're giving them a way to make money.
Thank you,
Tell
Scott.
us where the jobs program kids are working. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dean Rose. I live at 3230 Allegheny Road. I'm not a public speaker at all. I'm just a dad, and I'm here about the sanctuary city, and I am very concerned about what is happening. I've been a Erie resident for about 30 years now, and it seems to be declining and stuff like that. But I just, as a dad, I want to offer you some advice. Just, you don't have to listen to me, but this is my story. Got married in 1993. Me and my wife said, maybe have 3 or 4 kids. Sounds good. We ended up with 8. And when we started raising the kids, we realized we had to stay unified, and all our decisions had to be made unified, because we understand one kid could put us against each other, or another kid. And when we had the second kid, I think taught the first kid how to misbehave, because my first child was yes dad, no dad, and then my other daughter came along, and she changed everything. My point being is, we have 8 beautiful kids now, 6 girls, the last 2 are boys. How do you manage all those kids? I've heard that many, many times. Well, we've told all the kids as they got older, and they could understand what we're talking about. It's not about you. It's not about you, Rebecca. It's not about you, Maria. It's about the family. And I'm saying this because it's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about you. And it's not about them. It's about our city. And we have to come together. And to this day, that my kids know, we have no favorites at all. Although after having 6 girls, and the first boy did arrive, there was much I had to actually seriously sit all 6 girls down and let them know that I do not love that boy any more than I love the 6 girls. And it has now 30 years with the same wife. It's been a blessing. I know it's not about me, and it's really, it came from God. And I had a really, really smart person tell me this. He was a Franciscan priest from Japan. He said, if you really want peace and joy in your life, you'll put Jesus first. You'll put others second. And you'll put yourself last. And I've got that wrong many times. A lot of times I go, what's in it for me? And when I do that, I am the most irritable and depressed person around. And then I get slapped back up in the head and say, yes, I forget, I'm stupid. And then I reorganize my life. And one thing about having a large family, you need a lot of communication. And I think that's what we're missing. It's us against them. It's the girls against the boys. No. It's all of us together. And if we can't do that together, we're going to have chaos. And that's just my 2 cents. Thank you very much. God bless you guys.
My name is Jeff Horwath. I live at 9370 Hedrick Drive. I have a business in the city of Erie as well as a second home. It's ironic we started the meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, and this is addressing the sanctuary city status, where part of being the sanctuary city is that should a law from the federal government or the state be considered hostile, the city is going to resist that government that we just pledged allegiance to. With respect to Scotty's Brick, honestly, there's no law that says vandalizing a heterosexual is illegal and vandalizing a homosexual is legal. The laws that we have need to be enforced. That should have never happened, and that should have been investigated. That's something that's already on the books that, our police department, rather than trying to prioritize lowering priority with crimes that may be committed, they need to enforce the laws that are there. The council here, you're elected to represent the goals, the ideals of the citizens, provide essential public service, work and maintain, grow the city in the direction that the citizens deem worthy. This is a politically charged issue that grips the nation. I don't know if this is an attempt to put, Erie on the map as a, politically divisive city, but this ordinance opens the door for trans bathrooms, locker rooms, sports participations based on gender identities, and that's according to, the 3 laws on the Pennsylvania bills that are considered hostile. So those would qualify for these. This opens up the door to the surgical transition because that's one of the hostile laws, and it's even in here, whereas in gender expansive people, especially youth. These are all hot button topics that is gripping the nation, let alone Erie. One of the things that is in your resolution, it found that 86% of gender, transgender, or non-binary youth reported negative effects on their mental health stemming from the political debate around these issues.
passing this ordinance, putting the national, if not international spotlight on this, is that serving our youth? Is that going to lessen that political debate here in Erie? If 86% report negative effects from the political debate, how are we serving our children by making this a hot zone for political debate on this subject? It was said earlier, Erie already has a perfect score on the Municipality Equality Index. If that's the case, is this ordinance, are we trying to improve? Or are we using taxpayer funds to actually promote the LGBT lifestyle, the morality? If we're at a perfect score already, and a number of people said, yes, Erie is very welcoming. And there's been people, it's, pushing this sanctuary city. What are we actually trying to accomplish here? What is the goal? A lot of these, and I'll be honest, if I came in and said, I'd like to make Erie a sanctuary city for heterosexuals, I'd be laughed out of here. And if I wasn't, I guarantee you if that passed, I would be looking at a list of lawsuits so long that it would make all our heads spin. As a taxpayer in the city, if there are legal challenges, I'm assuming the taxpayers are on the hook for this. And yeah, you don't get into lawsuits like that that are free or cheap. But, looking at this ordinance, it says there were 491 such bills in 46 states that have been introduced and many passed into law, according to the American Civil Liberties Union. So at least according to this, the ACLU is deciding what's hostile laws and what isn't. That kind of reminds me of the Southern Poverty Law Center FBI memo saying that, there's certain Catholic groups that are hate groups and need to be investigated by the FBI.
Your time is up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, can someone back there tell me, do we still have copies of the resolution available? There's a lot of people here, and I only made 100 copies. They still have them? Okay, just to make sure that people are informed when they're speaking. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Ruth Kowalski. My address is 5151 West Van Cliff Road in McCain, but I do pay property taxes on a home in Erie. I am here for the Sanctuary City resolution. I know that it starts out as a human rights resolution, and in paragraph 2 and paragraph 3, it lists all these other people in Erie that are included, and then it starts to change. In paragraph 4, it mentions that the current 2023 legislative session has the 491 bills in 49 states. But are these bills to protect our little girls in locker rooms or in bathrooms, or is it to make it illegal for teachers or school counselors to not tell the parents that they're sending their child to see somebody about a surgery or some sort of therapy? Those laws are important, and they were voted in by us citizens. Will this also eliminate the false teaching that parents assign their children sex at birth instead of, it's a boy or it's a girl, but now we're teaching that us parents assign. In paragraph 5, it mentions that 86% of the trans and non-binary youth reported negative effects on their mental health. This is horrible. This is gut-wrenching. It's awful. And people that are suffering from this, we should do something to help them, not jump on the bandwagon and say, hey, we're all for you, continue on. No, we should say, what's going on? Let's fix this. In paragraph 8, it says if local, state, and federal laws are put in place, they should not be labeled hostile because they disagree with the LGBTQ organization. Why should they be considered hostile? Again, us citizens are the ones that vote these laws in. Paragraph 9, it says I'm saying this, if this is a human rights resolution, which is what we start out at, talk about, race and sex and marital status, age, things like that, then why do we finish with, making it a sanctuary city for this organization? And we forgot about the rest of the human rights that we started this resolution with. There is a study that was done in 2016 by the International Review of Psychiatry, number 28, in 2016, and they said 70% of the kids who experience childhood dysphoria and are not affirmed or socially transitioned, which they are today, they eventually outgrow it. 70%, that's huge. So if we make this a sanctuary city, will they outgrow it? Will they not be affirmed? So before making your decision, please consider all the girls and the women that will be affected negatively by a vote that would change our bathrooms, our locker rooms, our sport teams, whatever. Please consider the businesses that are in Erie. They just got over the COVID, trying to find people to work for them and get their business up and running again after being shut down for so long. All I have to do is say Bud Light, and everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. It will have an effect, and it will not be the effect that I think that the business owners will want or need. Will this vote encourage or discourage this lifestyle? And I'm going to say this unhealthy lifestyle, hence the 86% that was listed in the resolution. There's a book. Well, first I'm going to say this. Before anyone thinks that those of us that are against this are spewing hate speech, know that we are not. Someone very dear to me is suffering from this. They're one of the 86%. So this hurts a lot, and to think that we might embrace this and encourage this when people are suffering, they're struggling, they need help, they need a direction. They shouldn't be lied to. They shouldn't be told that they can pick this and do that, and oh, you can have hormones and you'll be happy. No, you're still going to be a girl, or you're still going to be a boy. They got to be told this, and we're not allowed to say it anymore. It's against the law in some places to say this. We got to fix that, okay? We want everybody to find peace and happiness, just like here in Erie. Everybody has been commenting what a wonderful place Erie is, and it is. That's why we're all here, and that's why we like it. So we want to find peace in their lives, and so I just ask that you vote no. And while I still have time, because I'm going through this with somebody, like I said, very dear to me, there is a book called Irreversible Damage. I recommend this for everybody. If you have a child, read it. If you are part of the community, the LGBT community, read it. Know what's out there. Know what your options are, because you're not being told everything. You go online and you hear a one-sided story, and you're not allowed to say anything different. So please, vote no. Vote for Erie. Vote no. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tracy Belzon. I live at 932 West 8th in Erie, and I've been here all my life. I'm here in regards to the sanctuary city. I want to say that we are all here, we love one another. We're not here to point out any group. We should all be united in loving one another. And this particular sanctuary city is making a separation with that. It's not loving one another. It's actually stating that we don't, and that is a lie. We do. We love all of our brothers and sisters. Many of us even have family members that live in this lifestyle. Many of us. No, okay. We know people that have been transgendered and completely. And we know the troubles that they have gone through. They are not better. They do not feel better. They are still struggling, and many of them are suicidal because of it. They don't tell you that they can't go to the bathroom anymore, and they have pain all the time, and they can't have sex anymore, and they have all these issues. And if they decide they change their minds, their breasts are gone, and their parts are gone and mutilated. Just because they're children. I mean, they don't have nobody should be doing this. When we think about ourselves, what if this would have happened to us as little children? It's not fair to be forced to be ignorant as a child and then be told, that this is something you should do and not having any idea as a child. But we're allowed to drive at 16, we have to wait till 16 to drive, we have to wait till 21 to have a drink, but we allow something like that. This really blows my mind. So anyways, one of the things I wanted to bring up is how about a sanctuary city for Christians? I mean, we are actually being persecuted. I belong to the Latin Mass, and I know that we were being called terrorists. How is that possible? One of the most loving communities in the world, and it's been around forever. And yet we're being called something that doesn't even make any sense. I just wanted to read something here. It's a statistic from December 5th, 2022, of the ongoing persecution against Christians. And it's a recent report by the Observatory on Intolerance and Discrimination Against Christians. And what it says, I'm just going to go to this one area, and it says, commonly found in this report, governments and major corporations often shut down the speech of Christians. We know this to be true. In support of secularization, along with upholding the views of the LGBTQ community and other minorities that disagree with the Christian worldview. Well, we're all individuals. Why can't we have our view too? This is scary. Why can't we have a sanctuary city for the unborn, for those with Down syndrome, for this homeless? We deal with the homeless on State Street. There are so many homeless people. This is insane. And there's only one number to call. They have one number to call to find a place to stay. There's no private places for them. They have to go through the government to find a place to stay, so they're on the street. How about our defunded police? I mean, I know police officers that are struggling so bad because of ever since this defund the police program bullcrap came out. How about our veterans? They're on the street. How is that even possible? And we're putting all this emphasis on a sanctuary city to people we already love and care about. These are our friends and our family. And we're completely missing the boat here for all these other things that are actually, we should have sanctuary cities, especially for Christians. They are being persecuted. So these are the points I wanted to make. Also, in schools, they're affirming the LGBTQ in schools, in the libraries. But Christians, we're not allowed to have a Bible. We're not allowed to say the name Jesus. I mean, how is this possible? We are being persecuted. We need a sanctuary city. Will you please consider that? I'd like to propose that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erin Meisner. I live at 321 Blackstone Drive. I've lived in this city and the county for the better part of 25 years. Erie's my chosen home. I am disabled, non-binary, trans, queer, and a person. My pronouns are they and she. Currently in the state of Florida, it would be a crime for me to say those sentences inside of a school building. While there are bills being passed by many individual states criminalizing the existence of the LGBTQIA+ community, Florida alone passed 4 bills this spring specifically targeting gay and trans individuals. My family and friends worry every day if our states will be next being legislated out of existence. According to the Florida State Legislature and the Florida Department of Education, I do not exist. The state claims that sex is determined solely by biology and reproductive function at birth, and that these reproductive roles are binary, stable, and unchangeable. Florida has rendered queer people as second-class citizens who cannot be discussed among school children, though some of those children may be LGBTQIA themselves or have queer family or queer educators. A large part of these bills ignore basic, accepted scientific facts and prevent doctors from providing the best treatment to gender-expansive people, both children and adults. These are medical protocols, and they have the approval of the FDA, the American Medical Association, and other professional medical organizations. In Florida, children who received their prescribed by doctors gender-affirming care can be removed from their parents' custody, and doctors risk 5 years in prison to provide medically necessary care to them. These bills are also predicated on the false idea that gender identity is synonymous with genitals and gender assigned at birth. They establish the right of everyone to know your individual configuration of reproductive organs and genitalia in order to properly assess if you were being called by the, quote, wrong name, wrong pronouns, or wrong gender label, or using the incorrect bathroom, which are all crimes. We are facing a refugee crisis, not from outside our country's borders, but from within. If laws like the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida continue to pass judicial review, there are, and there will be more people who need to flee their homes just to receive medical care, mental health care, and to protect themselves and their families. They deserve a place where they can live authentically without fear of retaliation and repercussions. Sanctuary cities must exist to protect the rights of all Americans and their pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. I urge City Council to pass the Sanctuary City Ordinance to allow Erie to be one of these cities. Grant Erie the ability today to remain a safe home for me and a refuge for anyone being persecuted simply because they are different. Thank you.
My name is Tyler Titus. I live at 840 East 40th, Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm going to start with this. Every 45 seconds, a queer youth in the United States attempts suicide. So I've started the timer now for when I begin to speak, and I'll tell you how many have attempted by the time I'm done. I come to you today as a small business owner, a mental health professional, a licensed therapist, someone who has served an elected office, and I'm going to work my butt off to, so in November, that I'll be honored to be on that stage with all of you. I'm a homeowner, a taxpayer, a voter, an advocate, but the most important role that I hold is I'm a parent. There are over 530 anti-LGBT laws that have been entered onto the books to be voted on since January. Many of these bills have passed, many have failed, many are still being debated. Many parents are waking up in states that they have been, where their rights as parents have been completely obliterated. They are no longer permitted to make informed decisions with licensed and trained professionals. They're being persecuted, their children are being taken from them, and they're now being placed in the state's care, costing the taxpayers money. We know at any point, when you look at the population that is homeless or experiencing housing instability, 40% will identify as LGBTQ. We also know that the city of Erie is rapidly losing people. Many young adults are also waking up having to flee their city, their community, their friends, their family, because people who are elected to represent them at the same level that they're elected to represent their neighbors have decided to infringe upon their rights, and they no longer have access to education, employment, or health care. Last week I was sitting in my office, and my coworker came up to me and informed me that we had two people who were in their 20s sitting at a local drugstore here, like Rite Aid. They were fleeing domestic violence. They had all their bags. They had left one of the states where these legislation were on the books. They came to us. They did not ask for any handouts. They asked, where did they go for? They had to apply for a job. They wanted to apply for housing. They wanted to apply to get access to the things. This resolution does not ask for more. It does not ask for any special privileges. It does not, all it asks for is that we as queer people be given an opportunity to live out our lives authentically. It just asks that we can have somewhere where we can live, somewhere we can work, somewhere we can build, somewhere where we can be business owners, somewhere where we can be part of society. It's not asking for anything more. It's not even asking for anybody to do anything that's illegal. It is simply saying that this become a low priority. It's not asking for any laws to be broken. As a parent, there's nothing I wouldn't do to fight for my children. Nothing. And if I woke up the next day to find out that I was no longer able to get access to the life-saving treatment that my child needed, I would go to the ends of the earth for them. We can be that place. We can be that place for families. There is not a single practicing doctor or licensed professional in this city that would allow any surgeries or hormones to be utilized without therapeutic evidence, without ongoing care, and without community support. There's nobody who is going to take a child into the operating room. That is misinformation. That is fear-mongering. It's not true. This resolution presents an opportunity to be the city that we proclaim to be. This resolution gives each of you the power to save a life. I am not being dramatic when I tell you that this resolution gives you the power to save a life. Since I have been standing here, there have been 10 LGBTQ youth who attempted suicide. We can make a difference, and I ask all of you to please vote in favor of a resolution that does not give more, it just simply gives an opportunity. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kylie Vignola, and I reside at 421 Arch Street in Meadville, Pennsylvania, actually, but I have the pleasure of traveling to Erie frequently for educational and work opportunities. So I came here with no plan to speak, but I'm up here. So I keep hearing the children, the children, the children. That's what we care about tonight, right? Whether you like it or not, your children are growing up gay. Your children are growing up trans. There are kids who identify this way. Whether you go to church every Sunday, whether you read them the right books, whether you say the right things, that's who they are. This ordinance doesn't make Erie a zoo for gay and transgender people where everyone in this city is going to be flying a pride flag and telling you how glad they are to be part of a rainbow community. That's not it. They want safety. They want a place where they can come and they know they won't be bothered, where they can get a house, where they can get a job. They deserve to grow up and live. They don't want to right now. Your children don't want to. This isn't a city where they feel as though they're safe. We can make it that way. Erie is far better than a lot of places in northwestern Pennsylvania. And they could take this president and take this ordinance and be much far better than they probably ever even imagined. We don't hope that kids grow up gay. We don't hope that kids grow up transgender, but we hope that they are able to live their lives and be 30 or 40, own a home, get a job, do things that they want to do. And that's really the basis of this ordinance. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Michael Milk. I reside at 907 West 25th Street. I actually came prepared with a speech. I was gonna, I was gonna mention the Ford station, I think is what it's called. How Erie served how the Ford station in Erie served as the first Underground Railroad station, and how Erie, and the refugees. We've taken in thousands of refugees over the last few years, so Erie has a history of protecting people. I had a speech lined up, but in the light of all of the testimonies that were given today, it doesn't matter. Everyone that has been speaking from their hearts, I think, regardless of the side that they're on. Now, I can see both sides of it because I've been on both sides of it. I am transgender. I'm non-binary. It's not quite boy, it's not quite girl, but I still got the parts. Anyways, sorry if that was inappropriate. I apologize. But anyways, just being frank, regardless of how I view myself, that's how I view myself. It is what it is. You know, I didn't discover my true gender identity until, you know, a little later in life, because I didn't really have the opportunity. I grew up in the county of Erie, and while I don't feel like I was necessarily mistreated, there was an air of not belonging. And when I discovered that my gender identity wasn't this masculine thing that I kept getting hammered home that I was supposed to be, it's something a little off-center, I could suddenly own it. I suddenly pinpointed why I wasn't feeling quite right. And just that knowledge was enough for me to feel safe in my own body. And that knowledge is enough for me to feel safe talking about this in front of the mayor and the council and a senator and a whole bunch of people that I may have met in a previous part of my life, many of which were Christian. I was Christian for a very long time, and I can't throw away what Jesus did, but I'm also not necessarily seeing Jesus's view represented here. I've heard a lot of people talk. I've heard people say his name, but I'm not hearing about healing. I'm hearing about fixing people who think that they're girls when they're boys, but I'm not hearing about healing or taking care of people. I'm not here. I am hearing about let's get together. So now, you know, many Christians are coming now that there's a resolution protecting a resolution that simply is stating that we're supposed to be protecting these people that aren't being protected, people that are literally running away from their homes, adults that are running away from their homes because of persecution. We're stepping forward now as the LGBT community to speak about this and to say, yeah, we should do something here. We should make Erie a sanctuary city to protect people who are already fleeing their lives, for their lives. And now we have people stepping forward and saying, well, you know, we shouldn't do that. And one person even said, you know, Christians are being persecuted. My point is that there is no reason to establish a sanctuary city for Christians, because Christians they're not fleeing for their lives. If they were, yes, we absolutely should make a resolution for that. But that's not what's happening. So, I'm glad that some of the folks who have come out to speak asking for unity, that we should all go forward together on this, are here. I hope that you are continuing to be here for the conversations that we're going to have. I hope that you are willing to collaborate with queer and trans people, people who've gotten bricks thrown through their buildings because they're gay. That's not right. No one should be treated that way. Nobody. Not Christians and not trans people or gay people. Thanks, sorry.
Hello, my name is Josephine Mavica. My address is 1696 Treetop Drive, which I do think is technically in Mill Creek, but up until 2 years ago, I lived in the city of Erie, and my parents and my younger siblings still reside in the city of Erie. And I have lived in Erie my entire life. I attended school here from elementary up until college. I actually graduated from Gannon University with a bachelor's degree of science in psychology, and I happily now live with my partner, Nix, who is a woman. I am here to ask the council today to vote to make our city a sanctuary state for the LGBT+ community. In my schooling, the topic of LGBT individuals in the mental health field has always been a topic of urgency and need. I also spent 3 years working with youth in residential mental health facilities, some who were LGBT, and I saw the way that they suffered and the way they were hurting deeply, even though the standard of care when taking care of an LGBT child is to once again offer them therapy and use their preferred name and pronouns. But I still had individuals that I was working with, my colleagues, the people who agreed that this job was important, that these children should be protected and supported, were still refusing to use those names and causing these children immense amount of pain because they felt at their core they were being rejected for who they were, and that we were not safe people, we were not safe adults, and that they could not trust us. People have already brought up the LGBT youth statistics for suicide, so I won't go over that again. But given the state of the United States right now, given what is going on in other states, those numbers are only going to go up as children feel that they are not loved, they are not supported, and that if they somehow turn out to be different than what we all, state is normal and should be, those numbers will only continue to rise, and I truly do fear this will allow LGBT adults to be protected, but it will also allow the children to know that we are listening, because please remember, the children are always listening, whether we think it or not. They are always watching us. They are looking to us, basing their opinions, their thoughts, their beliefs, sometimes on themselves, off of us and what we say and how we treat other people, oftentimes adults, who are like them. Let them know that they can grow and explore without fear of being rejected. Let them know that they have a future as an LGBTQ adult in this city. Let them know that they have a place. This city has been my home for as long as I remember. I want to move back into the city. I want to, go back to school in the city to get a higher education. I want to live with my partner without fear in these uncertain times, as much as I, as an eldest sibling and an eldest cousin, want my siblings and my cousins to be able to grow up. I want them to have a safe place to do that. And I want them to be able to live without fear. I want these children to be able to grow up. So I beg of you, please take into consideration supporting this and letting our future know, and our future adults who may come here to live here, because they know that they will be safe here, that they will have this opportunity. Thank you.
Sam Tellerico, 4120 Harvard Road. Just some brief comments about CRIZ. I have nothing planned to say about CRIZ because I know absolutely nothing about it. So what I advise you to do is listen to Kim Thomas. She runs Infinite Erie, and she is one of the people, and she hangs around she works with people that this is what they do. They are the experts, so please listen to them. But I hear a lot about CRIZ, and you can CRIZ this part of the city or that part of the city, or you can double CRIZ if you want. And that will help. That will certainly help refurbish our neighborhoods. But nothing will refurbish our neighborhoods by anything more than a marginal degree if the people living on the East Avenue corridor or the West 18th Street corridor are making $7.25 an hour. They won't be investing in their neighborhoods. They won't be improving their homes. The state assembly finally approved a $15 minimum wage bill. The Senate needs to vote on that also and pass it so our neighborhoods have a chance. Now let me talk about the cultural issues that are going on. I support Councilwoman Faulkner's resolution. I have to chuckle a little bit about some of the arguments I hear. Oh, we love everyone, but, well, I'm not homophobic, but I know gay people, but, and then there's the bathrooms. Let me tell you something about the bathrooms. I have no idea what the solution is, neither do you. But I do know we as a society are working on it. But I do know this. Take a look at me. Seriously, take a good look at me. Now let's assume I was born a female. Do you really want me using the same bathroom as your 7-year-old daughter? That's how ridiculous the bathroom issue, the bathroom argument is. Oh, why a special classification? I'm sure these same people are saying, well, why don't we have White History Month? Oh, how about a sanctuary for Christians? Why not a sanctuary city for Christians? Well, let's see, I bet there's probably 50 Christian churches within the city limits. I think we already are a sanctuary city for Christians. We are fighting a culture war here, not only here, but in every public venue all over the country. And the people who are fighting the culture war are fighting it for one reason, because they are losing. I know this because I taught school for 35 years. And kids nowadays, these kids nowadays, they don't care if you're gay or straight or trans or black or white. This is where our society is moving, and there is no going back. We are not going back to the 1950s. We're going forward to the 2050s. Please support Councilwoman Faulkner's ordinance. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My name is Emily Menino. I'm a resident of Waterford. I came here tonight in support of my friends and family. And thinking about my family, someone mentioned Italians. My great-grandfather saw my great-grandmother in a Corpus Christi Day parade in Italy. And my grandmother got on a boat with him 2 weeks later and came to America because she wanted to come to America. My two other grandparents on my other side are also both born and raised immigrants from Italy, and we spoke of their prosecution. My parents, they lived in Erie their whole lives. My parents were born here. My father is from the east side. His father worked at GE. He met my grandmother by bumping into one another around a refrigerator. My parents met at Sullivan's on St. Patrick's Day, and they were married 6 months later. They raised 3 children in Erie. They chose to send us to parochial schools. I attended Mercyhurst Prep. I graduated in 2001. I met my best friend there, probably 1998 we met. And it was in 2001 that she came to me and she said, Emily, I have to leave Erie. I said, Katie, why? She said, I'm a lesbian. I can't stay here. I'm going to go to a school in upstate New York that's more accepting of the LGBTQ community. And I want to tell you a joyful thing that happened this June. Katie, who now resides in Florida and is married and has a child, came back to Erie with her family, and they attended our Pride Parade. And I said to Katie, Katie, this is the Erie of 2023. This is the Erie that you didn't think existed. It's welcoming. It's for everyone. Katie had to call her son's teacher and ask, he's going to draw a picture of our family. Is he allowed to submit it into a school in Florida? Is he allowed to discuss his 2 moms in school in Florida? And you know what? The teachers, thankfully for them, they said, yes, we will take care of your son. But that is who this sanctuary city is for. It is for people who are being discriminated against in other parts of our country. And I hearken back to when my family came over and fought in World War II back in Europe after they came from Italy about the persecution that was taking place. Transgender people have existed since the dawn of time. 1 in every 6 women are sexually assaulted or attempted to be sexually assaulted, and it is not by transgender individuals, it's by predatory males. Okay? I have never been groped by a transgender person, but I have been groped by predatory men. And this false narrative that's being pushed, I urge council, educate yourself. Put your cell phone away and educate yourself about what is taking place in our society and the fearful tropes that are being pushed. At Mercyhurst Prep, I learned of Nelson Mandela, and he said, the purpose of freedom is to create it for others. That is what the Sanctuary City is doing. We are saying we believe in freedom. We disavow discrimination, and we remain true to the roots that my grandparents came from Italy to explore in the democracy of the United States. That's what this is in the city of Erie. That is what Ms. Faulkner is producing. I think of the Freedom Riders in the civil rights movement. It was not only Black Americans on the bus. There were white Americans saying, we disavow the discrimination that is taking place in our society. So I call on every citizen in Erie to stand up and speak out, strike down discrimination when we see it, educate yourself as to what a false narrative is, whether it's here, whether it's in the halls of Congress, whether it's at the United States, or whether it's at your best friend's house in Florida. Tell them Erie is a safe place. We want business here. We want people to come here. We want to bring Erie into the future and not back to the fascism of World War II. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emerson Bannon-Kutry. I live at 3710 Zimmerman Road on the southeast side. I was here, I don't know if any of you guys recognize me, but I was here a few months ago as well. I want to start out with a shout out to the UE workers on the picket line right now in Lawrence Park. But my family came over from Italy 100 years ago, specifically Calabria. And like a lot of people, they faced discrimination, like others have mentioned, discrimination against Italians and Poles at that time. But one thing my parent, and luckily, obviously that's not as much of an issue anymore, but one thing my mother did always teach me was the importance of the ladder. And the fact that we suffered discrimination as immigrants, that also means that we have to help the other people afterwards and the discrimination that others face. Ultimately, my mother taught me the principle of solidarity. And ultimately, immigrants didn't get those rights by kind of standing there idly by. They got them by fighting for it. I am a proud non-binary person, and we are not going to get our civil rights by standing by. We get them by fighting for it. I heartily endorse and support Ms. Faulkner's resolution, and I hope that Erie is able to really become a leader in LGBT rights with the assault that we've seen on it across the country. Things may seem all right now, but that there's only one Supreme Court decision away, or one law, or any unforeseen political consequence from that, things becoming quite shaky. Passing this would give a lot of mental health support, and particularly reassurance to queer young people in the city who have already, as we know, there have been issues with us losing people. I think putting ourselves on the map as somewhere that it's safe to be a young queer person, that will help things a lot. I encourage the city council to also look at other issues like housing and jobs that I think Dr. Titus mentioned before, the amount of queer people that struggle for housing. I encourage them to be similarly bold and looking for good solutions for our city and other issues. Thank you.
Howdy, howdy. Howdy, howdy. I'm Quintilia Madeleine. I live at 2426 Hay Barger Avenue, and I'm here to talk. I'm going to be real short and simple. I haven't really prepared anything, but I'm going to just be short and sweet. When it comes down to it, the lack of anti-discrimination at a statewide level for LGBT people is a serious shortcoming on the part of Pennsylvania, and we really need that as a city just to make things even and fair, really. I feel like there's been a lot of talk, and it was quite disturbing to me to hear all of the support for it, but a lot of talk that's kind of tangential to the issue of being trans or being non-binary and having this anti-discrimination ordinance, where they're talking about, like, if it's good, is it sinful, is it okay, is it healthy? All of that's kind of secondary to the issue at hand today, which is should we prevent people who are trans and non-binary from being discriminated against, right? That's what's on the table. I think yes. I think most people should think yes. Even if you think that it's sinful, it should be normal, it should be, well, not normal, what's the word I'm looking for? It should be normal, but it should be, not discriminated against. That's simple. Sorry, kind of lost. In the best case scenario, in which the state doesn't pass any openly hostile bills to trans people, in that best case scenario, passing this would be somewhat more just a show of support, a very important show of support for trans people. And in the event that, in the worst case scenario, in which the state does pass severe anti-trans laws, we could be a serious lifeline for people, trans people and non-binary people and gay people, not only throughout Northeast PA, but also in Ohio, in nearby states. It would be very important. So, and I just want to say as well, it is entirely free, as far as I'm aware. It doesn't cost really much of anything to pass this and to change the priorities of the police somewhat in the event that there are anti-trans laws. So I don't understand the opposition whatsoever. I think that people should stop being so weird and bigoted, and I hope that everyone who clapped for them is just a little bit kinder in future, just be a little bit kinder. I'm going now. See ya.
Hello, my name is Jacob Chemsak. I'm from 5440 Decker Drive in Edinburgh. I work up here often and volunteer a lot of my time. I'm here to make the argument that this is dumb. This is really dumb and small-minded. And I'd like to make a couple of key points on that to help get my point across. We as a nation like to yell freedom, liberty, and justice, but typically only when it's convenient or relatable or we understand it. Case in point, we say that this nation got here because of that freedom and liberty. But let's go back to the beginning and give it a little bit of thought. Who ruled whenever our nation started? A bunch of white guys. Who had a bunch of liberty and freedom? A bunch of white guys, right? It's true. And then after a while, we were like, oh, okay, black guys, I guess they're people too. Were they not people before that? No, it's just it took society and culture to accept the concept. This is crazy. They're people. And then how about women? Crazy notion at the time. A lot of fighting about that, just like right now. This room, this struggling concept of liberty and equality. But it's mostly just because for a lot of these people, they don't understand it. They can't relate to it. So they don't care. But it's all stupid because we as humans struggle with being self-aware. And then in all of this, for some reason, black women were an afterthought, right? But were they not people before that? Should none of these people have the right to own a business or vote, be equal in the full concept? And why was that? Because each iteration of stepping towards a greater, more free, diverse country, it was society and culture catching up with what's always been true. All of these people have always been people. They've always had the same rights, but they were just robbed of it. Okay? So here we are. Anybody ever hear the phrase, save the whales? Okay, the correct response is, why do you hate dolphins? That has nothing to do with it. So affirming the rights of people that maybe you don't understand or you don't relate to, it doesn't mean that there's anything less for you. And also this weird comments about something about fishermen and hunter. I fish and I hunt. Does that mean I'm supposed to hate gay people or something? I'm a white guy. At no point in any of these iterations did it help me. Should I not care? So I ask you right now to be self-aware. As humans, we struggle with it. 6 out of 7 of you said that you can't relate to the people that this affects. It is a repeat of history. It is yet again humans struggling to be self-aware and conscious of the rights of people who aren't like them. you can't relate to and understand. I can't. Doesn't matter. Anytime we as a society have the ability to reaffirm the rights of our citizens, we should do it. We all have the right to pursue happiness so long as it doesn't infringe upon somebody else's right. And even beyond that concept, we have an obligation to pursue happiness so long as it doesn't infringe upon somebody else. And that's whenever you have a prosperous, happy society, you have happy neighbors, right? They're going to do more. They're going to contribute more to your community. We don't need to isolate people who are taught to hate themselves from day one. They're raised to think that they're monsters and something wrong with them. This is what we've done in every iteration of history and moving towards greater rights. So just be self-aware that now you up here represent the ruling people, just like in all of these other iterations. You can't relate to the people whose rights are on the line, but it's your obligation to do what the people in front of you are arguing and be considerate and self-aware of what we've had to do over and over again. Thank you.
That was fantastic and hard to follow. My name is Rock Copeland. I'm at 1336 Patterson Avenue. Just like the speaker before, I'm a straight, white, cis male. I was born a Protestant. And anyone without that very specific identity knows that people in the past have been experiencing injustice at the hands of their government. That's just the truth. And I think it's really important to reflect on Erie's history as a stopover for the Underground Railroad for people on their way to Canada. One of my friends made me aware, I did not know this was a thing. There's a new diaspora forming, people leaving states like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, looking for a place where their being who they are as a person is protected. And many of them are going to Canada because they already have codified protections there at a national level. And we're a stopover on a new Underground Railroad. We have an opportunity for a lot of those people to stop here. I would note that there's a lot of, I think, 530 some odd laws being created in states and regions, draconian laws that further a culture war. Those 530 laws are the first shots in this culture war, and people are getting real upset when we fight back. That's what this is about. And don't be surprised if we show up at the ballot box, because it matters. It struck me really hard when I talked to one of my dearest friends about this movement to Canada, and they said, yes, my family's looking to move too. Long Erie resident, looking to move. We need to be welcoming to people and show that justice is important to us here. I think it's important. A no vote sends a very strong message. A no vote on Susanna's resolution sends a message that these people are not welcome, that you do not welcome them. I really hope this is a unanimous vote. You are the voice of Erie. This elected body represents the most people in Erie. You are the one voice in Erie, and that's important. I also stand to support the resolution to show Erie's support for the union workers at WabTech in their struggle. Erie County Council just voted unanimously, and you know that body, if they vote unanimously, it's pretty astounding. And I really hope that Erie does the same. Once again, I ask you guys to be the one voice of Erie and not give in to the demands of others, and use that one voice to speak truth to power. Thank you.
I'm Gabe Genoa. I'm at 107 Parade Street. How we doing, council people? We getting sleepy? Doing all right? Mayor? A little sleepy. Yeah, I get it. All right. So I was going to come up here and say, how many queer people do you know that have followed you into the bathroom? But all the people who were saying stuff against it left. So next. Anyway. I work with LGBT people every day at my job, and every single person I see has a story about someone in the majority. Yes, heterosexual people are in the majority. I'm sorry if I had to break the news to you. dismissing them, saying they are mentally ill, and actively causing them harm in their lives. At my second job, I work with queer children. The children everyone wants to say are in danger, and they are in danger. Everyone who wanted to talk about the children and what will this do to the children? But when there's a child who's going home every single day, being abused at home simply because they love the same sex or don't feel comfortable in their bodies, so many of us turn our heads and pretend we don't see them because we just want to believe they're sick in the head. These kids are not at risk for harming others. They're at risk for killing themselves. The harsh truth is that these kids are not suicide risks because they're queer. They're suicide risks because they have no safety. To make Erie a sanctuary city is to allow people who have been turned away from their families and friends to come here and be safe and be alive. It is to allow children to be safe from the abuse they are entangled in at home. The children we all want to be safe, right? Yeah. To make Erie a sanctuary city is a single step in the right direction. It is to do the right thing and finally have LGBTQ+ people's backs. And as for the economy, do you know how much money queer people spend? In general, but at small businesses? We're one of the #1 supporters of small businesses. If you want to boost the economy here, you should be getting us here in swarms. And for God's sake, support those WAB tech strikers. Thank you.
My name is Raven Cadell. I live in Fairview, 7615 Lakewood Drive. I regularly come into the city for recreational purposes as well as for school. Do you know what it's like being trans, to be a trans child in a state that demonizes you along with the media, but not only that, your community and your family? I'm sorry, I don't regularly dig up my trauma. When I came out when I was 15, I was met from reactions of my family saying that me simply being is just a phase. No one believed me. They all wanted me to prove how much pain I was in. They all had one strict definition of transgender, and I did not fit it. I had no community, no support, and I have felt suicidal since I was 13. I actually started to enjoy life, to look forward to the future. When I started HRT, it wasn't the in and out of therapy. Since I was a child, that helped me. It was HRT. I mean, the therapy certainly helped, but it didn't help the under-causing issue that was gender dysphoria. I have a lot of internal dysphoria that I have gotten over because of therapy, but there's a lot of socially imposed dysphoria that I still cannot handle. I barely function. I stay inside most of the time. It is very hard to be here right now. People shouldn't grow up like me. They shouldn't have the same experiences of no support, having to prove themselves just as a person. I've tried being normal. It doesn't work. I've tried so many alternatives. This was the last option. I never wanted to be trans. I never wanted to be heavily discriminated against, to be called a groomer or a pervert, or be scared to use the bathroom, and I can only go in my own house. I'm frankly just not functional as a person. I'm trying my best. I'm getting help. I've met the love of my life thanks to hormones, because it gave me enough confidence and enough emotional stability, if you can believe that, to get out in the community and meet new people. And there are so many people like me that shouldn't be. Passing this law isn't giving me preferential status. It's helping me take one thing off my plate, I will no longer be worried about if Pennsylvania is going to take away my rights, if this is going to be a state where I won't have access to hormones in the future. I simply want to live. I want to use the bathroom and leave. I want to disappear into society. There is no reason why I should be experiencing this much hate, to be a political tool for fear-mongering and voting schemes. I pray that the council will heavily consider in favor for Susanna Faulkner's sanctuary bill. It's just another thing I won't have to worry about, the queer community won't have to worry about. There's so many people in pain. This is just the first step in a long path to relieve it. I thank you for your time.
Good evening. First, is this the city council? That's a green thing I get in the mail for the taxes every year.
Yeah, that's us.
So I don't know why we have Fairview people, Mill Creek people, McCain people talking at the Erie City Council meeting, unless they get that green thing in the mail that says city taxes and they pay city taxes in the city of Erie, unless I'm mistaken. Because this is the city of Erie, right? City of Erie Council? It's not the state of
sir.
Pennsylvania, right?
Could you give your name and address?
Rick Wellington, 836 Weschler. Okay, first I'd like to start off. I woke up this morning and I read an article in the Times about the sanctuary city. And Ms. Faulkner says that she talked with Governor Shapiro about this. So I actually called Governor Shapiro's office today and asked him if he had conversations with Ms. Faulkner about this issue, and they said no. And Governor Shapiro's office said that Governor Shapiro does not have a stance on this issue. So I don't know where the lines got crossed or miscommunicated here, but the article actually said you consulted with him on this, and that's what I brought up to his office in Harrisburg. And I actually called the Erie News and informed the news about this, and I guess we're going to get with Governor Shapiro on this to see where the lines got miscommunicated about you consulting with him on his approval for this. But his office said that he has no stance on this matter. That was their direct quote. So I guess we'll figure this out when it comes to it. But I wanted to look into that matter, what the governor's stance was on this. And the governor's stance that they gave to me was that he doesn't have a stance on this, and he wasn't consulting with you on this matter, as the Erie Times reported. Okay? So, and secondly, I have no problem with people. They can be whatever they want. But if we're going to be a sanctuary city, and I'm really disappointed Reverend Brock isn't here, how about we be a sanctuary city for Erie's black and brown community? We want to be a safe city for LGBTQ plus. Turn on the news every night. You see young black and brown people getting shot, murdered, arrested. We can't even protect who we have in our city. And we want to bring other people in here for sanctuary and protection? Our black and brown teenage community, they're an endangered species in the city. And you want to make a sanctuary city for other people? How about we protect our own before we start opening our gates to other people? Let's make a sanctuary city for Erie's teenage black, brown, and teenage community first. That should be the foremost thing the city council needs to do. They're the endangered species in the city. We don't need to open up to other people and worry about other people. That's who's getting murdered, arrested. I worked in the state prisons for 25 years and retired. It's the worst thing you can see as a young kid coming to jail doing 25 years to life for a mistake he made. But we're going to open the city and we say we're going to protect other people and we can't protect our own. This is a political stunt. And it's an embarrassment. How about we protect our own people first? We can't, how are you going to protect other people? We can't protect our own. It disgusts me, actually. And I can't wait to hear from Governor Shapiro's office on this. I'm going to follow up on it. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President, City Council, Mayor. I'm going to make this short and sweet. Okay, I'm disabled. I've been asking the mayor for the last 2 months about getting white lines painted on the street. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff Torrey. I live at 160 West 8th Street, Methodist Towers. I apologize. I've been asking the mayor for the last 3 months about getting white lines painted on the street. I've been hit 3 times, and the one time I had my oxygen tank with me. They don't stop. They just keep going. And the mayor knows I've asked him several times about it. You know what he did? He painted 7th and 8th Street. And that was it. What did the streets department do last month or last year? Painting the streets, painting the crosswalk. None of them are painted now. This is the height of summer. I mean, there's 1 million pedestrians down here at the parking lot, and there's no white lines. You think people stop? You get the white guy. They don't stop for that because there's no white lines in the crosswalk. I can't even pull my oxygen tank because I'm afraid to get hit with it. I got a witness here. See me get hit twice? I've been threatened because I'm going in the crosswalk. Oh yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, these guys are making buku bucks to do what? Nothing. Where are the white lines? This is a city where you want people to come. You can't even walk across the street without worrying about getting hit because they don't care, because there's no white lines. I mean, I don't know what else to say. What do I got to do? Die because at somebody's hands because there's no white lines? Honestly, I mean, I really don't understand. And the mayor, no. I've asked you how many times. Yeah, you did one thing. You painted 7th and 8th Street, and that was it. And I live on 8th and Sassafras. I walk all around this neighborhood. I'm afraid to cross the street. I have to look. Even though you got that little white guy on the sign, that don't mean crap because people don't stop because there's no white lines on the street to stop them. Thank you. God bless.
Hi there. Lee Williams, 1043 West 10th Street. I rise in support of Councilmember Faulkner's ordinance to declare Erie a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA plus community. It's time that Erie became a city that embraces difference and prevents future fiascos at Blasco for all intents and purposes. I don't think this ordinance is something that is costly to the city, costly to anybody in the scheme. I think as we've heard tonight, the vast majority of things that could come from such an ordinance would actually be helpful to both the city as it stands and also to its constituents inside the city itself as well. It also would show Erie's continued commitment to diversity, inclusion, empathy, equality, and equity, all worthy goals, it would seem, for a city such as ours. I also rise to support Councilmember Flores in her want to support the WABTEC workers ultimately as well, and would hope to see a unified and unanimous vote from the board ultimately to do the same. If nothing else, I think we can all agree that Erie is a working class city made up of working class people that need working class folks on their council to represent these working class people as much as possible. Lastly, I rise to support Councilman Nelson's CRIZ board options versus the mayor and Senator Laughlin's, what I would consider really quite a power grab. I think it's a dangerous circumstance to find ourselves, and I think the proposal to allow those two gentlemen to create a board that is going to develop our city creates the same divides that plague the rest of the nation, that create the same divides that plague all sorts of spaces and places across the country. Let's not do that. Let's create a circumstance where power is ultimately shared, where the representative body that can make decisions for multiple millions of dollars that might benefit our city might actually do that with creativity, care, and concern for all parties and not simply the elite minority that tends to benefit the most from these programs. I think you'll see in a few months when some research ultimately finds its way out into the public eye who gets these dollars and who gets them consistently, who gets them regularly, and how they get them. How they get them is precisely by the power grabs that are being put forward right before us, right here in plain public view. The most naked power grab one can sort of speak to. Awesome that we have an option to create a circumstance where we might have a diverse body of humans, a body of humans that brings some difference to bear inside our communities. It's about time we began to make some of these changes as part of the city of Erie. It seems like we're beginning to move in the right direction. I hope the council will take some further and larger steps in that direction. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Joe. My name is Kathy Schaff. I live at 2437 East 43rd Street, and I have not attended a couple meetings, so I'm behind on what I'm going to talk today. It's not the CRIZ or LGBTQ or that. I was at a Human Relations Advisory Committee meeting this evening at 6 o'clock, as I am a member, and I wanted to publicly announce that there is a civil rights investigator, full-time, 37 and a half hours job that is now at an open application process until July 27th, 2023, that can be found on the county website, as the Human Relations is run by the county. I wanted to talk to you about public health issues. I sent an email to you June 25th, Council, and I have yet to receive an email back. So I'll talk about that if I can. The 814 shelter number does not work 100%, and I did want to talk to you about that. I wanted to listen fully to the special meeting that was held this afternoon at 1 o'clock, but because of my job, was not able to fully get everything that was spoken about, and I don't think it was publicly on the communications, so unfortunately I'll have to talk to someone who attended that meeting to get more information there. But it looked like a very excellent, wonderful meeting, but I was not able to because of work. I did want to talk to you about the property at East 33rd and McClellan. As an eco girl and environmental, Erie is just, a certain part, and we don't have a lot of green space making our oxygen level healthy as you think we might. I mean, we have parks, but the lawns are mowed and there's only certain trees. I am understanding that it's a good thing to bring houses and bring people. What bothers me is I've lived in my neighborhood on 43rd and Rice Avenue since 1987, 36 years. People don't stay there because many times, not 100%, but many times new families move in, but as soon as their children reach school age, around 5, 6 years old, they move away to Bell Valley, Mill Creek schools, Harbor Creek schools, Wesleyville, Lawrence Park. It's a fact. So we really have to work on trying to get people to stay in the Erie school system if they're not going to use private or charter schools. That's been a problem all the way through that I have been there. So I did want to mention that. But getting back to the Vendetti, it would be nice if we could use the ARP money to give Mr. Vendetti the money and just call it a sanctuary for deer, turkey, raccoons, all the animals. When you drive on Bird Drive, 38th Street, the highway, you encounter deer like I do. It's a regular thing. So I just wanted to say it's too bad that that area just can't be what it was meant to be: farmland, grassland, environmental ecology place. Getting back to the 814 shelter number. So people come in and they're homeless, and it's really sad, especially when I have women who are homeless that come in because, you know, I really identify with them. And like one came in today and she didn't have a phone number, a cell phone. So it's really challenging when you don't have a phone. So luckily we're open. I have called in the past, and that number just doesn't always work. But thankfully, it did today. So I don't know what percentage isn't working, but it should be 100% or I'm not happy. Thank you.
I don't know how to work this thing and don't care. All I want to do is say thank you, council. Thank you, Mayor. You're doing the best you can.
Name and address.
David G. Nelson, Senior. I see you, Mayor, all the time. I just want to say thank you. I have no complaints. Just thank you for everything. Kind of one of these
Hi, my name is Cole Shenley. I live at 615 Ohio Street, Erie, PA. I'm here tonight representing the Erie, PA chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America. Tonight should be a night of celebration, and this council can make that happen. There are 3 important items for you to vote on tonight: an ordinance and 2 resolutions. If you can pass these items, this crowd will cheer you, and so will this city. You will have made a bold decision for Erie's economic future. You will have ensured protections for our LGBT community, and you will have lifted up our siblings at UE 506 and UE 618 at a time when they are under enormous pressure to cave into Wabtec's greedy demands and are now under the threat of physical violence. Let's run these down one by one, starting with the competing CRIZ ordinances. One ordinance puts the power to run the revitalization zone in the hands of our mayor and the Republican state senator. The other ordinance gives shares to city council, the city's 2 state reps, the mayor, and the state senator. It's obvious that the ordinance spreading around appointments is the smarter ordinance to go with. Why would you willingly give up power? And not only that, but give up power to our Republican state senator, a man who is not looking out for the future of the Democratic Party in Erie, PA. You are all elected Dems in a Democratic majority city. Let's be clear, the first ordinance is designed to give Senator Laughlin a better chance at re-election next year in a seat he knows is vulnerable. And it's designed to give the mayor even more power over Erie's economy than he currently holds. That's how little they think of you as council members, that they don't think you deserve a seat at the table. We don't yet know how the CRIZ will affect Erie's economy, but we do know that the claim from the mayor and Senator Laughlin that Erie needs to speak with one voice on this matter is just another way of saying that your voices don't matter. When it comes to making Erie a sanctuary city, this is a no-brainer. We want to be a welcoming city according to the PR we use to tout our community. We just had an amazing Pride event downtown that brought an economic boost to our region and was a beautiful display of love at a time when so many queer people are under attack by right-wing ideologues in places like Florida and Missouri. The resolution making Erie a sanctuary city would not cost the city much money at all. It would likely save the city money by ensuring that the police look the other way in the event that anti-queer laws take hold at a county, state, and or federal level, leaving the police able to work on actual crimes. We have a lack of statewide protections for our queer community, but thankfully the governor has put his support behind making Erie a sanctuary city for queer people. The 10,000 more people that we need to move to Erie to stabilize our economy aren't coming here if they know that we are a community of bigots, and you've heard too many of those opinions tonight. You've seen how our county government has both failed and antagonized the queer community of Erie. The city government needs to step up and do better. And finally, I need this council to make a full-throated endorsement of the UE 506 and UE 618 striking workers. These people are fighting for better conditions, better pay, and a goal of creating eco-friendly trains in Erie, a noble goal. They need all the support they can get, especially after the recent hit-and-run attack they experienced while on the strike line. One of the injured people is a diabetic that can't afford his medications because Wabtec took away his health insurance. Thankfully, the union is at least able to pay for the injuries he sustained in the attack. Don't give half-hearted praise the way that some members of county council did. I need this entire council to condemn Wabtec's greed, to condemn the act of terrorism that these union members experienced, and to let all of you know that we are a union city and proud of it. I love this city. It's why I and my friends and my comrades fight so hard for it. We want this city to be vibrant and welcoming, a place where people from all different backgrounds come to live and thrive. If you don't pass all three of these items before you tonight, this council will be telling our community that some voices don't matter as much as other voices in the city of Erie, and that would be a terrible thing. We want to walk out of these chambers tonight knowing that this council has our backs, that it has the best interests of all of Erie in mind. Thank you.
Council, I think most people know this is State Senator Dan Laughlin. I live in Mel Creek. Is the mic working? Okay. I think a little history here is in order. I have fought for the CRIZ since the first day I was sworn into office. And before me, Senator Wiley fought for a CRIZ for the city of Erie. So this is a bipartisan effort. Despite what the previous speaker said, I'm not doing this for political reasons. I'm doing it to save the city that I grew up in. The city of Erie, in my opinion, is at a precipice where it could go either way into Act 47, or it can flourish and continue to grow, and we can all have a bright future here. As far as a couple of speakers have mentioned that this is some type of power grab, I had to chuckle at that when I was standing in line. It's a Democratic mayor, a Republican senator that have teamed up to try and make this happen. And we are using a format that has worked across the state where the senator and the mayor make the picks, and the balance of power lies because council can approve or deny our picks. There's no power grab. This is basically a three-legged stool where I have picks, the mayor has picks, and all of them have to be run through council. I can't think of a more balanced way to do this. The competing resolution here, where council actually makes picks and approves their own picks, I would say is a power grab. And I think most people that are listening to this tonight would probably agree with me on that. So we stand here talking about a program that will bring probably tens of millions of dollars to the city of Erie for economic development, which is much needed. It'll provide tax revenue for our schools. It'll provide tax relief for our citizens that are tired of getting tax and fee increases in the mail. And here we are, right? The year I was born, the city of Erie had 132,000 residents. Incidentally, it was the high mark. I sometimes joke around, I think the day I was born was the most citizens living in Erie at that time. I think we're down to around 90,000 now. That's not a great track record. And you folks, you hold the future of the city of Erie in your hands tonight, and I dread that you're going to make the wrong decision. And I ask you respectfully to vote for the mayor's resolution that there's a 5-4 pick. It's balanced. We put together a good slate of candidates, and the balance of power lies with council to either approve or deny our picks. That's where the balance comes in. I can tell you from the meetings that we've had leading up to this, the business community supports the mayor's efforts and mine. Erie Insurance, as you heard earlier, is not that thrilled if it goes. I believe that President Nelson has an alternate resolution they're not that thrilled with. And I see this as the pivotal moment in Erie, Pennsylvania. I really believe that, and I hope and pray that you folks truly deliberate and come to your senses and pass the mayor's resolution, and we can get to the business of saving the city that we all care about. Thank you.
Brian Pietchek, City of Erie, 4364 Miller, 16509. Erie City Council and Mayor, as a representative of both UE Locals 506 and 618, it breaks my heart that I have to be here today. I speak on behalf of our 1,400 members to help you understand our struggle with our employer, Wabtec. It isn't just 1,400 members impacted, this is 1,400 families affected by boardroom greed at its worst. We are fighting an onslaught of union-busting tactics from the notorious Jones Day law firm. We are fighting for a family-sustaining wage for new hires. We are fighting to maintain our health care, vision, and dental insurances. And lastly, we are fighting for company accountability by restoring our right to strike over grievances. It is a shame that because of this company's greed, we are having to fight with them instead of working with them to build green locomotives that are essential to our country's climate future. In negotiations, we proposed to do just that because green locomotive production would bring thousands of good quality jobs to Erie and Western PA, but the company flat out refused. Our union is looking for work, and they said no. Think about that. We can see the effect of boardroom greed right on our shop floor, where new hires are stuck in a 10-year progression before they can make a full wage. Many of them are eligible for government assistance. In a Tier 1 manufacturing facility, this is unacceptable, and our membership voted this last best final offer down. Even the newbies said to hell with this. How would you like it if your sons and daughters were making $10 to $15 less an hour doing the exact same job you're doing? Think about that. Check out MarketWatch.com, as Wabtec does have an interesting metric listed on there, which states how much revenue each employee puts out a year for them. That number is $320,000 a year, and the progression wage earners won't even get an extra nickel. This is what we're up against. I'm here to deliver the message from the members of UE Locals 506 and 618 that Wabtec can do much better. As for our health care, vision, and dental benefit plans, the company wanted to impose cost incentive measures that could diminish our care with no caps on how high our costs would go. With an average age of 55 years old in our shop, health care is essential to our workforce. And as I look out in front of me, I'm here to tell you all the messages that I've told this company time and time again that they can do much better. Lastly, the most important topic is our demand for some actual company accountability. When Wabtec took over, our membership hoped for a positive change from the old GE transportation systems. However, we quickly learned that this company wanted a straight up fight. On day one, the company's acquisition, we hit the bricks because the company wanted a permanent two-tiered wage system, amongst many other concessions. Our members stood up and said, hell no. We fought tooth and nail to obtain a bargaining agreement that would meet our members' needs, but this company treats our 2019 contract as a joke. Wabtec has abused our contract by sending just about every grievance to arbitration, and as the financial secretary of our organization, I'm telling you, their goal is to bankrupt us. Flat out. With every arbitration case costing us an average of $9,000 each. Guess how many we have in our queue right now? We have 68. At the most, in any given year, we would have 3 with the old company. This is why we need the right to strike over grievances, to make the company follow the contract they actually agreed to. Wabtec should be ashamed that 1,400 families are stressed to the max about where their next meal is coming from. 1,400 families are more furious than ever at a company who continues to say, trust us, without a guarantee of keeping the work here, or of building the green locomotives of the future in our plant. From the striking members and families of UE Locals 506 and 18, I'm here asking for bipartisan support from everybody to side with the striking workers with our fight against boardroom greed. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm a little short in this chair. You guys look really tall. My name is Mary Drum, and I live at 4502 Wood Street, and I've been fortunate enough to be in the city of Erie for almost 50 years. I moved here in 1973 with 2 biological kids and a husband that was just back from Vietnam, and we came from Rochester, New York, where he worked for Exxon Corporation, and I thought Erie was the greatest thing since soap, and I thought it was the most welcoming place. I grew up in a military family, went everywhere, and until my dad died, and then I was in New York City, where my mom was from. And when I came to Erie, I thought, wow, this is, I remember calling my mom and I said, I think I live in Disneyland, because I was in Yonkers on the Bronx border near Fort Apache, not that far. And I thought this was Disneyland. And I said, Mom, you can actually buy a nice house here. You can afford to send your children to private school here. You can afford, they can actually go skiing and learn to sail. I couldn't afford a garage in my Irish family's neighborhood in New York. I couldn't afford a garage. And I have a beautiful house. And I'm so grateful to be brought to Erie. And it was my husband's work that brought us here. We raised 8 children here. 5 of them are adopted, all special needs kids from overseas. I felt Erie was very welcoming to all my children that come in all kinds of disabilities and colors and ethnicities. And everybody thinks, oh, she's an Irish Catholic, she'll make them all Catholic. No, I said, sweetheart, God made you the way he made you. If you want to be Catholic, that's fine, sweetheart, I'll be very happy. Don't do it for me. So we have children that are Hindu, from Mother Therese. We have, because she didn't believe in making them all the same either. We have children that are Vietnamese, Korean, and some of them chose to become Catholic, some of them didn't. That was fine. I realized that I felt at home in Erie because Erie was very welcoming to my children, regardless of their disabilities, and some of them have severe disabilities. It was welcoming to them regardless of what color they were. As you can see, I'm in a wheelchair with spinal cord damage. My 81-year-old husband is here. He needs a walker because he's 100% service-connected combat veteran. And one of the nice things I found out was when they designated him such, oh, we don't have to pay taxes? After all these years of struggling paying taxes for, at age 79, they said, oh, guess what, you don't have to. I said, I never knew that. Oh, well, thank you, Lord. But this is a very welcoming city. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, okay. The population of Erie consists of every race, ethnicity, color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, ancestry, age, disability. Where are these people being discriminated against in employment opportunities, in education, in healthcare, in housing? If that's happening, that's terrible. But we have laws, don't we have laws to protect them? We should be prosecuting anybody who discriminates on the basis of any of those things. I think the people that were here earlier to voice opposition to this just thought the way I did, that, gee, why do we have to have a sanctuary city to protect these rights? These are rights that exist, that are on the books. Why don't we just enforce the laws that are there? I think it's terrible when somebody's discriminated against. My roots are in the civil rights movement, and I was raised by parents who really believed in civil rights. So much so that when my dad was stationed down south, he was a career Air Force officer. When we were stationed down south, we went to a local Catholic church. Parents are both Irish Catholics, one from Boston, one from New York. And we went to this church, and the black people were sitting in the last few pews. My parents couldn't believe it. The priest got up and said, we're going to have a rummage sale on Sunday or Saturday or whatever it is, and the colored ladies are going to have theirs in the firehouse. My parents looked at each other. They were horrified. We drove to the next parish, and then the next parish. And finally my father said, we're not driving 30 miles to go to Mass. We're going back. And so we went back, and the whole time we lived there, my mom and dad and I sat in the last two pews, the last three pews, because we were not going to be part of this bigoted congregation. We just weren't. And so we went to Mass. My later stationed again in the South, best friend was black, and I couldn't believe that they wouldn't serve her. And we would sit outside, my dad would give us money, we'd sit outside the ice cream place and we would lick our ice cream cones, watching the white kids inside. So I don't believe in discrimination, and I do think we have to protect all the rights.
Your time's up.
And
Thank you.
I believe that for my children. I believe it for your children. I believe it for everybody here. But I don't understand why we have to create a sanctuary city.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Oh, and I do support WabTech. Absolutely.
Do we have any repository sales? Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Do we have another citizen to be heard? Or are you all right? Do we have any other citizens to be heard? Do we have any other citizens to be heard? No, he's helping her out. Oh, we got it. Do we have any other citizens to be heard? Sorry, we passed over repository sales. Do we have anyone here for repository sale? Do we have anyone here